And that brings me to our next story, which is related to the last one. This is from Daniel Dennett at the New York Times. And this is The Unbelievable Truth, Why America Has Become a Nation of Religious Know-Nothings. And the story begins like this. Or is this an opinion piece? Or?
It's an opinion piece based on the Pew study. Yeah.
Okay. The new study by the Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, released this week, shocked many with the revelation that atheists and agnostics tend to know more about the world's religions than believers do. Pew researchers asked more than 3,000 Americans, and we know about this, so I'll skip that, but moving on, the age of the Earth, the existence of billions of galaxies, the detailed confirmation of evolutionary biology, including our demonstrated close kinship to chimpanzees and indeed all other mammals, all of these discoveries and many more have taken their toll on any literal understanding of the holy texts. Scholarship about the history of these texts has also made it more and more obvious that they are imperfect human artifacts with a long history of revision and adjustment, not eternal and unchanging gifts from God. So what's a religion to do? There are two main tactics. Plan A. Treat the long, steady retreat into metaphor and mystery as a process of increasing wisdom and try to educate the congregation to the new sophisticated understandings. Plan B. Cloak all doctrines in a convenient fog and then not just excuse the faithful from trying to penetrate the fog, but celebrate the policy of not looking too closely at anyone's creed, not even your own.
Interesting. So which of those two have most denominations taken, I wonder?
He goes on. Plan B has been the choice of most religions and denominations, and the result, not surprisingly, is that most religiously affiliated people have no firm knowledge or even opinions about the finer points of any religion, including their own. How, then, to explain the apparently contradictory fact that, according to Pew, atheists they surveyed knew the most about religion? Atheists tend to be those curious and truth-loving folks who do take a good hard look at religious professions of faith, and hence they tend to know what they are walking away from. There have always been atheists, though not always very visible to the public. Yeah, that's for those people who like to call us new atheists. That's for you.
Yep.
The fact the perennial nagging doubts of the few atheists in the crowd have probably been the main force of sustaining theology. And I talk about this. The whole branch of apologetics wasn't like some sort of religious demolition derby where all the religions go in an arena and fight. Is that the apologetics was designed to fight doubt.
Right.
And that's, and ta-da, it's right there. And so it goes on. So the Pew results are no doubt actually somewhat stronger than they first appear. The more you know about religions, the less likely you are to believe religious creeds and myths, and thus the more likely you are to be an atheist or agnostic, whether or not you are affiliated with or even clergy in a church. And I do want to say something about the Pew Research thing. Is every once in a while, one of these survey people we discuss this about surveys and polling people. Is every once in a while you get one of those studies about like American knowledge and stuff like that, and they say, well, 5 out of 10 Americans believe the sun revolves around the Earth.
Right.
And I tend to think, I have a theory that a lot of those are gamed. Like if I'm walking in a mall or I get a random phone call and somebody says, hey, does the Earth revolve around the sun or does the sun revolve around the Earth? I can be kind of a jackass at times. I go, yeah, sun revolves around the Earth, sure.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
And I think there's a wider margin for that than one might expect. But in this religious belief or the lack of religious belief is something closely held in America, and it has always been. This is where the new atheism thing comes from, is that we have always closely held our interest in skepticism, our interest in keeping questions when there isn't evidence for the answer, and just nowadays we're willing to talk about it. So on this one, I don't think that applies. I really believe the answers this gives us.
I think so. I think it seems like a pretty straightforward and trustworthy study.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to jump right into the episode here, because
Okay.
I had another article to read, but we'll save it for another episode because I'm so eager to get into this one. So I revealed on the very first episode of Ask an Atheist, when I was co-hosting with Mike, that I was raised in a Mormon family and considered myself a Mormon for a long time. And I was approached by some members of the crew about doing an episode on Mormonism, and I said, okay, sure. And then I thought about it, and I was like, what, just talk about Mormons? That's not really that exciting. So I decided instead to kind of use some examples of how the Mormon religion has changed from its inception, which was around 200 years ago, to modern day times, as a way of examining and pointing out how basically all religions change as they evolve in response to pressures from the secular community and from the majority religious community that they're sort of ensconced within, in the case of smaller religions like Mormonism. So we're going to get a quick crash course on what the Latter-day Saints Church is, for those of you who are not familiar, and then we will go and take a look at how some things have changed from the beginning of the Mormon religion to 2010.
I believe we have sort of a crash course.
Well, let me see if I can outline it for you first, basically. Okay. The official name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Mormon, Latter-day Saint, or LDS can be used interchangeably, so that's something to keep in mind. We might use any of those terms as we go along here. I would say that some theologians, and certainly all Mormons, consider themselves to be Christians, that Mormonism is a branch of Christianity. Other branches of Christianity usually don't agree with that assessment and consider Mormons to be like way out there and therefore not part of Christianity. So I'll just leave it up to you, the viewer, to decide what you think about that.
That goes back to the differences between somebody who has a degree in theology,
yes,
and somebody who went to a Bible college.
Exactly. So it's splitting hairs basically for the purposes of our show. So I won't go into it too much. I'll just say that
I will say there is wide-held belief, even among some of the people in this room, about whether or not Mormonism counts as Christianity.
Sure. Yeah.
We tend to believe it does.
Yeah.
I tend to look at religions in the same way that we look at speciation at this point. And we've gotten rid of kingdoms. Is that we've really begun to realize that evolution and speciation is a process, and there is no clearly defined lines between different species. And I basically take that thinking and apply it to religion. And when I apply it to religion, it becomes clear to me that it's basically a branch of Christianity.
Essentially, that's how I feel too. But I'm not going to argue over it, whatever. For the purposes of the episode, it doesn't really matter that much. I will just say that Mormons do believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, that he died to atone for human sins, and that he was resurrected on the third day after his death, and that the only way to achieve salvation is to follow the teachings of Jesus. Pretty standard Christian beliefs. So we'll just go with that, and just so you know, there were, of course, some embellishments made by the early LDS Church to the standard Christian story, and some additions. But really, as you were saying before, I think we have a video clip that can explain this better than I ever could. So let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Yeah, short form history here.
Mormon Jesus. Mormon Jesus. Mormon Jesus. Mormon Jesus. Long ago, a spirit child on one of these planets was conceived. Through an unidentified God, his name Elohim. Elohim was conceived. This spirit child was later born to human parents near a mysterious star called Mormon Jesus. Mormons believe in Mormon Jesus. Through obedience to Mormon Jesus, he was elevated to godhood as Mormon Jesus. The Mormon teaching and death and Mormon resurrection, endless sex, all by the God of Mormonism and his wife produced billions of sons for the devil and a billion tons of children. The sons of the Mormon deep of a great heavenly beating to decide their destiny and to have sex with Elohim's eldest son, Lucifer, and his brother, Mormon Jesus. Elohim's son, Mormon Jesus, approved the proposal of the Mormon Jesus. Savior of the planet Earth would be Mormon Jesus. Early Mormon prophets taught that Elohim, one of his wives, gave it to Adam to start human life again, to have sex with the Virgin in order to provide Mormon Jesus with the Indians, Mary, Martha, and Mary Magdalene. Of these wives, at least 3 wives produced at least 1 billion Israelites. The Jesus of Mormonism, Mormon Jesus, Mormon Jesus, Joseph Smith. Mormon time.
So, ranked among things I thought I would never say, I really like God's come hither look. in that video I saw.
He's gonna get you.
I know.
Okay. I have to say, I found that video on YouTube and I love it, and I don't know who made it. I can't remember. It was just like saved on your hard drive, right?
Yeah,
you loved it too.
It was just on my hard drive.
So during the preparation for this show, we were trying to figure out who made it so we could give proper credit where credit is clearly due, because that was amazing.
Clearly.
I think we're just going to have to end up tracking down the maker of that video and crediting him on our website, on the blog, and everywhere else.
If you know who made it, or you made it yourself.
Oh wait, do we have the name?
Do we have the name?
The floor director's getting it. Yay.
Oh, good. The thing is,
seriously.
the source material. I have also the source material video from that.
Oh, good.
It's this.
IGIULAMM. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Igiulam.
IGIULAMM. Contact us.
Thank you,
with a
YouTube person. You
Yeah.
are amazing.
Awesome.
Really, that was great.
I also have the source material video for it, and it comes from a series of cartoons of different minority Christian sects.
Yes.
And with these rotoscope cartoons explaining their weird theology and why you shouldn't believe it in deference to our own strange theology made of this particular church. It's
Right.
very strange, and it's weird to have them have this what seems like a pretty rational critique of a certain mythology, followed up by, don't believe in that mythology, believe in brand X theology.
Yeah, believe that God somehow made a virgin pregnant and she gave birth to a human child that became a man who was actually God, even though God was his father. And I mean, it's really, it's all nutty. Come on.
Also, it does look a little bit like Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
It does, a little bit. I was kind of getting, I mean, you could almost set that same thing to the greatest adventure. I mean, seriously.
Intercut between the two.
Oh, wow.
Would be pretty cool. And I think that has to do with rotoscoping.
Rotoscoping. Rotoscoping will cure all of society's
I don't know
ills.
what it is, but it's an awesome word.
It's word up.
I do know what it is.
So, in case you were not able to glean it from that fabulous music number, complete with Dancing Lucifer, which I loved, here is a very brief history of the Latter-day Saints Church. It's a little less than 200 years old. It was founded in 1830, just after the Second Great Awakening movement.
We've had a few.
Yes.
There was one in the 1780s or 1790s that sort of went into the early 1800s, and there was a bit of a gap.
A little bit, yeah, and then it kind of picked up again. And basically what these Great Awakenings were, they were movements of revival meetings and sort of religious extremism that were essentially all founded on the idea that Jesus was coming back any second now. So they were basically, these apocalyptic kind of movements where people would get really fired up about the end times.
A lot of these revival movements will literally, when you get rid of the singing and all the pomp and circumstance, it's a bunch of people sitting in a tent going, Jesus is coming now.
Oh, wait.
Now.
Yeah, basically that was it.
For 200 years.
So that was how... Apparently we just cracked up the booth. Sorry, guys. We didn't rehearse that or anything. That's how cool we are. So anyway, just to give you some context, that was sort of how the Mormon Church was founded. And other religious denominations sprang up out of the same movement, notably the Shakers and the Millerites, which became the Jehovah's Witnesses. So that kind of gives you an example of some of the denominations that were founded around the same time and in the same place.
We thought about interviewing a Shaker, but we couldn't find any.
Anyway, founded by a man you are possibly familiar with if you are a fan of religious history of any kind, named Joseph Smith. He grew up in an agricultural family, a bunch of farmers, and helped supplement the family income from the time he was a very young man, like 13, 14 years old, by doing something that was actually very common among pretty much all people in New England during the time, treasure hunting.
It does need to be said that in the time that he existed, working on the farm at 14 and doing some treasure hunting on the side,
not unusual.
By no means makes him an unusual person.
No. That was what everyone did. And seriously, I mean, he had a pretty standard New England 1820s life. He worked on a farm with his family, helped supplement the entire family's income with his efforts, and definitely believed in folk magic of a sort, which basically everyone in the area believed in. And he made some pretty good money as a treasure hunter. He specifically was after precious metals like gold and copper. And he claimed to use 2 seer stones to help him find the treasures.